Hey everybody, it's your boy Big James. Welcome back to another review of Ready to Love Last Resort. This is the reunion part one. There's a lot of stuff came out on this reunion that we didn't know before and we should have known. And it's a lot of stuff that was just edited out and make me look at production some kind of way. But let's just get to it. It starts out with them all there. They're all looking good, and Tommy is talking to him. Tommy asks Alicia about her being pregnant, and she says yes, she is. And he doesn't. He doesn't ask. He's joking like, "Is it one of the guys? Did one of you guys get you pregnant? Did he get some other kind of snacks when Brian came in there?" And she was like, "No, it's none of them guys. It's somebody else." She said she has a guy. He's a wonderful man, very stable and all that. And Tommy leaves it alone. And I can understand people saying he shouldn't have done that. He should have went further into it. I don't think so. I think he should have just left her ass alone. He should have asked her was she pregnant. She said yeah. He should have moved the fuck on because you don't want because she's pregnant during the episode. She's pregnant during the reunion, but she's one of the women that carry the baby in her ass because her stomach doesn't look any bigger, but like her back and her ass is big, so that's where the baby must be hanging out at. But she's pregnant. She's visibly pregnant on the show. She's sitting sideways. She's like doing her clothes so when to like kind of cover it up, but she's clearly pregnant. And you don't want to be seen on TV. Not him as the host. You don't want to be seen on TV like harassing or bullying a pregnant woman about her body and her choices. Like, why would you come on the show pregnant? They were only on a resort for like maybe a couple months for filming, and she's like 5, 6 months pregnant. So she was pregnant when she showed up. But if Tommy can't go into that, one of the other cast members probably can ask her about it or figure out more like why would you even come on the show? What was the point of you harassing us about taking care of you and your kids? Was it because you knew you had another kid coming? So it was a lot of shit. And they asked him about, Brian, and she was like, well, they asked Brian about, was that your baby and stuff like that. And he was like, no. And Lisa said she just didn't like the way Brian handled it. He could have just talked to her if he didn't want to come back to her room. There was no reason to be sneaky or lie about it. He could have just said, yeah, I don't want to come back and not come back. Which, yeah, that's what he should have done. And they asked, was the thing with Brian and Alicia, did that have an impact with Alex? Because, Alex and Brian was a thing. And Alex said, yeah, it did, because it made him look at her made her look at him a certain way, but it was other stuff too. And that since the show has been over, they haven't connected again really at all. Because she said, once they left the resort and went back home, she started hearing more stuff about him, like that he had a baby on the way. And then it was like, Tommy asked Brian, like, yo, you got a baby on the way, man? What's up with that? And Brian was doing that bullshit talking. They was talking about that, like how Brian never gave a straight answer. He never just spoke directly. He was always lying and covering stuff up. And he did it there. He never answered directly. It was like, Tommy was like, man, that's a whole lot of talking to not give an answer. And it was. I think he finally went and said, no, it's not his baby. Whatever. But that was one of the things that Alex was talking about was that you can never get a straight answer out of him, and he doesn't really seem to care about you because he doesn't. Brian really cares about himself more than anybody else, and yeah, I can understand her not wanting to fool with him anymore. I can understand anybody saying that. Then they go to Joy and Simone. I'm gonna talk kind of weird because there's a lot of stuff that happened, but a lot of stuff that happened was directly related to certain groups of people, but it was spread out for the whole hour. I'm probably not going to do that. Probably going to talk about everybody at once. But you go into Jay, and they asked Simone about her and Jay connection, and Simone was upset. She was upset because the way it was portrayed on TV during the show, it was like she was just this crazy lady that didn't know what the fuck she was talking about. She was like, no, me and Jay had a connection. And they show clips of where it's like, yeah, her and Jay was always with her, like whispering in her ear, but he was only like at nighttime or when they were alone. He was like, he told Simone, "You my number one. It's gonna be me and you." He's not really thinking about none of the other people. And Simone liked that. She was like, "Yeah." But she started to notice that he was telling her this privately, but publicly in front of everybody else, he was pretty much claiming Joy. She was like, she wasn't really feeling that. And that's why the whole thing with Jay going into Winter's room was a big deal. Because they're showing the clips of him talking to Simone, bigging her up, telling her how he feel. Like, he's all into her. She's all this. He likes her firmness, her directness. He likes her strength. But then whenever Joy came around, it was like, fuck Simone. He wanted people to see how he was with Joy, but he didn't want nobody to know that he was into Simone. And production ain't worth shit because they went along with that. They didn't show him and Simone. I didn't know till this reunion that him and Simone did any fucking thing together. I didn't know at all. Because you didn't see it on any of the episodes together that him and Simone were close at all. It just seemed like she wanted Jay to be into her, but he never displayed that he was into her. But here on this reunion, they showed no. He was all in with Simone. He was really with her, but it was never shown. And that's why during the elimination, Simone was like, Jay is not with her anymore because she felt like Jay was trying to keep her a secret. And she was like, I don't want to be a secret. If you can't claim me in public, don't claim me at all. And yeah. And then they show Winter and Jay making fun of Simone because Winter didn't know Jay was doing this with Simone either. Winter thought Simone was just making shit up about how close her and Jay was. Like, y'all not close. What are you talking about? But even she said it right there. She said she didn't know until she just saw, like everybody else, till she just saw those clips, how Jay was talking to her in private. How Jay was talking to her when they were alone. She thought Simone was fucking batshit crazy. Shit. Because Simone was like, no, Jay is into me. But it was like, no, he ain't. What are you talking about? He don't talk to you. He was into her. Simone was telling the truth. And like Joy and Simone had Winter for her, because Winter just flat out admitted, I thought you was lying. I thought you was lying. And Simone was like, thank you. Because on TV, it looked like I was just tripping, but I wasn't. And then it gets into Joy, Simone, Jay, and Winter. The whole thing with them four. When Simone saw Jay go in the Winter's room in his swim trunks. And how Simone was like, they made me like a bad guy, and I wasn't a bad guy. I was going off what he's been telling me and what he's been telling Joy. And then I see him go in the Winter's room. So Simone was like, so I went and told Joy what I had saw. And she said, Joy went and told everybody else what I said about that. And that is what made Winter look bad. Simone said, I didn't tell anybody. So Simone didn't know. The reason Winter knew and everybody else knew was because Joy told them. Because Simone was saying that I only told Joy and Jay. I didn't say it to anybody else. If everybody else knew it, it's because Joy said it. So you can't say that I embarrassed. Because Simone was saying that I didn't embarrass Winter in front of everybody because I didn't tell everybody. I told you two people. And then you two people told everybody else. So Winter should be embarrassed. It shouldn't be embarrassed by anything I did. Which Joy was like, no, that's not true. It's what you did. But I'm with Simone on that. Simone said, if she's embarrassed in front of everybody, it's not because of me. I didn't do anything. Joy the one that did it. But Winter said she was okay with what Joy did. And I'm Simone should have been pissed, and she was. She was hurt because she was like, I didn't embarrass you in front of everybody. And Simone was like, y'all with Joy, and she called them sister wives, Joy and Winter, about Jay, because Simone was like she was done with Jay because he was keeping her secret. She called them sister wives, and Joy got pissed, like, who you sister wives? And then Simone was like, yeah, I thought you had no the good sense. And so Joy was like, good sense. They had Joy all the way pissed the fuck off. Joy was mad as fuck. Joy was mad. She was highly upset and pissed off. Because everybody, she felt like she should have never been brought into this in the first place. She shouldn't have. She didn't really need to be. But she was caught up in the middle of all this, and she had nothing to do with it. She wasn't involved in it at any end, the front end or the back end. She was just caught up in the middle. So how she gonna get blamed for any of it is she's just like, how you gonna blame me for any of this shit? Nothing would have happened if you hadn't said nothing. And Winter got on Simone about that because it was the truth. Winter said, we grown. If he wants to come to my room, okay. Naked, half naked, fully dressed. It don't matter. We grown. We can do whatever we want to do. You should have just stayed out of it. Simone should have stayed out of it. I might take back what I said. No, because Simone was right too. If Winter is embarrassed because everybody knowing it, that wasn't on her. What was on her was she should have minded her fucking business and not cared what was going on in the room. And Joy was just mad. She was just visibly upset, just angry at what Simone was saying. And Jay told her, like, hey, relax your face. Because Joy she was just carrying that anger in her face, and Jay was like, relax. He told her like twice. He was like patting her, because she wasn't listening. She was so focused. She was just like focused on Simone that she didn't hear him talking to her. And he was like, relax your face. And she was like, I can't. She was like, I can't, shit. And then Simone break out crying. Simone be crying, y'all. Simone be doing some crying. And she went to go, she's like, oh, excuse me. She went behind, like, I don't know, a plant or some shit. And Joy was like, y'all need to get Simone an Oscar because this acting she be doing. And Simone was behind the thing, and she looked at Joy like, the fuck you just say? And Joy was like, I'm just playing, Simone. I'm just trying to lighten the mood, make you laugh. That's it. And Simone just cried. Simone was like, well, can I get a hug? Because I don't want there to be any animosity. She was like, it ain't nothing between us. Ain't no animosity. Ain't no hatred. None of that. Which was cool. And so they hugged, and Simone hugged every goddamn body. And then Tommy was like, are you one of the sister wives now? Because she called Joy and Winter sister wives of Jay. Because how they was doing shit. And then it was David. They went to David about his experience on that, and he was like, he wished he would have went better, but it is what happened. And I talked to him about David and Joy, about the finger in the face, and he was like, I wasn't trying. He apologized to Joy, like, I wasn't trying to disrespect you with my finger in your face, nothing like that. She was like, it's cool, because they all, after the show, they all been hanging out together anyway, so they all, anything they had, they put it aside or settled it. Well, maybe not everything. I'm gonna get to that later. And they go to David and Alicia, and David is like, he feels like he didn't communicate better when it came to the Alicia thing. That they didn't really understand what he was saying or get to where they could understand what he was saying. But he was saying, he doesn't have any problem being a man in the house, take care of the kids. But he was like, right away, like, I just met you. How we just started, he was like, I need to get to know you first. Get to learn about you and about your household. He said, then get to know your kids and all that. And do I need to do? He said, what are their dads doing? What are they not doing? Where do I come in? He said, it's not just, I just show up. Okay, I'm with your mama and y'all my kids now. He was like, I don't even know you. He's right. He's absolutely right. And that's what I said in the first place. Like, David was not wrong for needing more information or needing to get to know people better. Yeah, absolutely. And Alicia said the same thing, that, what he was saying was right. And that we just didn't get a chance to hear him out all the way, and it wasn't clear, and we wasn't listening, and just communication was just bad on what points he was trying to make. It just didn't come out right. And she said, her and David is cool. She said David had been to her house. They be hanging out all the time and shit. And Tommy was like, oh, David, that's your baby? He was like, no, that ain't my baby. And they asked David about has he made any other connections? Or he saw, because he said, David, you're pretty popular on the internet. A lot of people like David on the internet. They feel like he had a raw deal. That he was a good guy that they never gave a chance to for pretty much a dumb reason. And he said, him and Alex been hanging out, been kicking it. He's into Alex. And Tommy was like, well, if you into her, you need to go ahead and make that move. And he like asked her out to go like do something. I forgot what it was. Go karting. He asked her out on a go kart date, and she was like, yeah, it was awkward and weird because they were kind of put on the spot. I'm sure if he wasn't put on the spot to do it right then, he could have made it go better. But right then, because of how he was doing it, it seemed weird. But Alex seemed like she really liked it. She didn't mind at all because they've been hanging out, so she know how he is. But it was fucked up they had to put him on the spot like that. So that was David. Then it was Anthony and Winter. And they were talking about how they didn't do anything together till like the end of the series, till like the end of the show. It was like the last few episodes. That's when Anthony and Winter really started doing anything because she had just given up on the whole Jay thing at that point. And Tommy asked him like, how's everything going? And then he asked him, how's everything going? Has there been any problems? And what caught my attention was when Tommy asked, was there any problems? Denise bust out laughing. And then everybody started murmuring, and Denise was just flat out laughing. And Anthony was like, and then Tommy was like, well, y'all know something I don't know? Yeah, they having problems. I think they said they got into it about communication. They had communication problems. Basically, Anthony's communication. Because Winter said Anthony is very passionate, and when he gets into something, he gets real loud. His voice raises. He gets kind of yelly when he's talking about things that he really cares about. And she's like, I don't like that. And so they're like, well, what are you talking about that got him to raise up like that and just really get into it? And it was finances. And Anthony said, that's not something he normally talks about. It's finances, how to spend money and what to do and all that. And so that's what caused him, because it was something new to him to talk to with a woman about was, money. He don't do that shit. His money is his money. But when you with somebody, you gotta talk about that stuff. And he said, hey, it's my fault. That's on me. I should have done better ways to handle it. And Tommy was like, so they had kind of split apart. And Tommy asked, was there any chance y'all could rekindle? And they said, yeah. Because he said they had bumped into each other and they had started talking again. And they are working through it again now. And what they're doing different now is just trying to communicate better. And Winter said something that was really good. She said that, I'm listening to him now. She said, before, I didn't listen to what he was saying. She said, I just really didn't listen to what he was saying. I didn't want to. I just didn't know what he was talking about, so I just didn't even care. But she said, now I'm listening to what he's saying, so he doesn't have to raise his voice to get the yelly and go all that. Because now when he's talking calmly, I'm listening to that instead of him having to yell in order for her to listen to him. And they say it's going pretty good. It's going a lot better this time than it was then. And I think they go to commercial and they come back. And Tommy says he wants to talk to them about the love square, not a love triangle. It was a love square they had on the show between Jay, Joy, Edwin, and Winter. Those four formed the love square. If you saw the show, you know what I'm talking about. And they showed clips of all of them, and they showed like Edwin, just being smooth. Edwin, it was a light show clips that they showed the episode. Edwin was way smoother and just way more romantic than he came across on the show as a very thoughtful, caring, emotional person. They showed the behind the scenes clips or never before seen clips. He was way more than that. And they asked Joy, like, what was the deal with Edwin and Jay? And she was like, Edwin was just more romantic than Jay. She said Edwin was more deliberate. He was more thoughtful. He was more emotional. He put more effort into you. He told you how he felt about you. He told you he cared about you. And he acted on that. And Jay didn't do that. But she felt more of an attraction. And she felt more with Jay. And she was like, but Edwin was but what Joy say, Edwin was by and large the better dude. but she was more attracted to Jay, and she had more of a connection to Jay. And Jay kind of took offense to that. He was like, "What do you mean?" She was like, "No," and she wasn't even bullshit. She was like, "No." Edwin was way more romantic. He was way more open. He was way more emotional. She was like, "No, you ain't even close to what he was at. Edwin was clearly the better guy, but I had a better connection with you." And I think with Winter, it was like kind of the same way. It was like, Edwin was more deliberate in what he did. He wasn't just, because Jay was real closed off. He talked about nothing, but he talked about nothing really well, while Edwin talked about significant, substantial things. He talked about his feelings, his emotions. He opened up about his life, what he does, and what he likes and what he dislikes. And Jay didn't do any of that. But in the end, it doesn't really matter. It's an attraction thing. So, and he asked everyone, "What would you do for Joy this time? If you had to do it again, what would you do?" And he said he would be more consistent with Joy, which I didn't understand what that meant, because he was pretty goddamn consistent with Joy. Like I'm like, what more could you do? I guess not talk to other people. Like, he wouldn't have done anything with Winter. He wouldn't have done anything with Naya. He pretty much did nothing with Naya anyways, but I'm like, I don't know what more consistent he could have been with Joy, because he was open and 100 from day one with her. From like, it was, I don't know, that's probably, I don't know. I can't figure that out. And they asked Jay about, when Winter asked him for a kiss, he gave her a kiss on the cheek, and Jay was like, "Well, a kiss. Bullshit. A kiss ain't a kiss. That was like a little peck on the cheek. That wasn't no kiss." And he was talking about, he just did what he felt he needed to do. And Winter was like, it pissed her off because of all the stuff that, her and Jay had went through. And then they showed video packages. Y'all, they showed them videos of never before seen footage that nobody's seen before, that wasn't on the show and that we didn't know about. Jay and Winter was a whole lot closer than we thought. Jay and Winter was doing a lot together. They was up at night outside. He telling her all these sweet things about how she doing to him, and all these things about how he feeling like she this, she that. And they show her going down, like they show her going to his room at like 1 in the morning and leaving like 3, 4 in the morning on multiple times. She leaving with them bow legs, like she just got off a horse. And then Tommy was like, "Y'all wasn't getting no sleep." And Winter was laughing. She was like, "Yeah, we got to know each other real well." And Jay over there sweating like a hoe in church. He was like, "Oh yeah," he looking at Joy like, "Cause we didn't know any of this." And Joy was like, "I didn't know any of this. Nobody knew this." Winter looked like she was obsessed with Jay, and he was kind of keeping her at arm's length. What we didn't know is that ain't the case. He was encouraging and pulling in and drawing out all this emotion from Winter. Y'all, I don't know what y'all be doing at 1 in the morning in a hotel room with somebody for 3, 4 hours. And then you leaving, fixing your clothes, can barely walk. I ain't saying nothing happening, but Winter herself said she looked like a hoe. I didn't say that. She said, "Yeah, I'm looking like a side hoe." Hey, but she said all we did was talk. Wasn't nothing going on. That's what she said. But she said this is how I look. But we was just talking, getting to know each other, and learn a lot about each other. I believe her. They got to know each other very well. But you didn't see that in the episodes. You didn't see any of that. It looked like she was just this crazy stalker woman. This lovesick puppy. They didn't show the fact that Jay was pretty much egging this on. The same shit he was doing to Simone, and Simone said, "No, you're not finna play me like this." He played Winter like that until they got them kiss on the cheek, and she was like, "Fuck you, fuck you." Even up to the day he left. This is the other thing, because they asked Joy when her sister left about Jay leaving too, and she was like, it was special. It meant a lot to me. And Winter was like, I didn't even fucking know. She was like, she said she talked to him, and she said, when I talked to you, Jay, the day you left, you told me you didn't know if you was gonna leave or stay. And I told you do what your heart wants. And then Jay was like, no. He said, the thing I told you is what I told Joy. And Joy said, hold on, I want to hear what Winter got to say. Because Joy knows what Jay told her. And she said, I want to hear what Winter says you told her. Because Jay was trying to talk over what Winter was saying. And it was like, no, I want to hear what she said. And Winter says, he told me he didn't know if he was going to leave to go with you or stay there with me. He said it was a hard decision. He didn't know what to do. He didn't know which way to go. And Joe was like, okay. And Jay was like, no. He said, Jay told Winter, he said, no. When I talked to you on that bench, my stuff was already packed. I was already dressed. I was leaving. He was. Because I remember that episode. He was already dressed. His stuff was already packed. And he was sitting there talking to Winter. He said, when I told you that I didn't know what I wanted to do, I was already packed and ready to go. So that was some bullshit line he was feeding her to make her feel better. He was like, I was leaving. I just didn't tell you right then. I told you later on that I'm going to go ahead and go. But before that, he said that he wasn't sure. But he was sure. He knew he was going to leave when he started talking to her, but he just lied to her. And then Joy said, her sister dying. She really loved that Jay came. She wanted, she loved having that support, him by her side. He came to the funeral and the service and everything, and she really appreciated it. And they showed the video clip of the day her sister died. They showed everybody like gathered around. They showed Denise give a speech like, Joy wanted me to tell y'all this, and Joy was like, it really meant a lot for her. How everybody's well wishes and prayers. Jay coming was a big help. It really helped get her through a lot of it. So she's a day she can never forget, and she's like happy that he was there to support her. And they asked Edwin, like, why did you leave when Joy left? And Edwin was like, because there was no reason for me to stay. He said, I could feel her pain. I could feel her suffering. And I wanted to be there with her, but I knew she had a deeper connection with Jay. So I let Jay, he could go ahead and do that because that's who, she most likely wants. But I couldn't stay because if I would stay, I'd have been fronting. He said, I didn't want nobody else. It was just Joy. And if she's not here, she's gone with Jay. There's no point in me being here pretending through the rest of the process. And big on him for being man enough to say that. And it was obvious. He said it that day. He said, without Joy, there's no point in me being here. He said that then. And meant it. And Joy was like, it was great because everybody was saying like how they missed her. And she said, and one more thing, I didn't tell Denise any of that shit. She said, how would I do that? And Denise is just sitting there looking stupid because when they showed the clip of her giving a speech, she gave the most long-winded individual. Like she was saying individual names. Joy said, Edwin, you this. Rashid, you this. She was, and Joy was like, I didn't say any of that. She said, I don't know where Denise got that from. Her and Denise ain't that close. She said, when my sister died, I packed my shit and left. She said, when would I have told you anything? When would I have crafted some long, intricate speech? And the rest of the group is just shocked. Like, she fucking made that up? Oh my God, you have to watch the episode. She made up the most ridiculous fucking speech. And the thing is that the only reason Denise did that was to draw attention to herself away from Joy and to make people think that Joy was her fucking friend when she wasn't. That's bullshit. And that's fucked up. How you gonna use somebody else's sister's death as a way to make yourself look good? Put the spotlight on you? Oh, we were so close? What? They were never close. If they were, it didn't come across on the TV, and the way everybody reacted, it was like, y'all wasn't even cool. Why would she tell you this? When Joy said that I did not tell Denise to say any of that stuff, I was gone. Her sister died. She talked to Jay. She got her stuff and she left. She said, I didn't even see y'all. How the Joy was like, how would I do that? When would I have had the time to do all of this? And she's like, why would you say that? And Tommy was like, why would you make that up? And Denise had some bullshit. She was, I was just trying to channel you and speak vicarious. Like, no. No. What, are you crazy? No. And there was no point to it. There was no, that's the worst part. There was no point to it. You achieved nothing with that speech. And now here you are at the end looking crazy. And that was the end of the damn reunion. With every time he asked Jay and Joy, how was y'all relationship? But then he stopped him and said, we'll continue on next episode. But nobody wanted to even talk about that because all the other castmates were talking about how the fuck could Denise lie on Joy like that about her sister dying. It was like, it was so tragic. It was so sad and pathetic. There's no coming back from this. There is no coming back from it. No one will ever look at you the same way again. None of them people. Hell, none of the viewers. You just straight lied on this woman to boost your own fucking ego. And Rashid said it. Because when they went backstage and Rashid was like, how the fuck can you do that? She was like, if Joy would have told anybody something, it would have been Jay. But she didn't tell you nothing. Why would Denise do that? That was the number one question. Why would she do that? And you know what? That's narcissist. She wants to say what everybody else is doing is narcissist. What she just did is narcissistic. Because that was self-serving, self-congratulating. That was the most selfish thing a person could do. Was I don't want attention on you, I want it on me. And Adriana said the same thing in different groups. She was like, yeah, that was narcissism. Textbook. People were not paying attention to her, and she said, what do I have to do to get you all to pay attention to me? So she lied on Joy. And California did the same thing. He was like, I didn't know. When he heard it that day, he was like, damn, I didn't know you and Joy was that close. And everybody was like, yeah, we didn't know because they wasn't close. Why would she tell you this and y'all not close? I like Denise. I have liked Denise pretty much the whole season. I thought she was beautiful. I thought she was strong. I still think that. I still think she's a very beautiful woman. She's very strong. But she is broke. It's something broken inside of her. She said, I ain't been in a relationship in 19 years. Yes. I can see it now. I couldn't imagine being with her. That's got to be terrifying. You don't know what the fuck you're coming home to. The next episode, I think, is going to be about Denise Cause they show in the clips it's gonna be Denise and Adriana confront each other, Calfani and Denise. It's gonna be Chris and Naya. I'm dying to hear Chris and Naya. And I just gotta hear what comes out of Denise's mouth. I do. I don't think Naya really gives a fuck. So I'm not that curious about her. I'm curious about how Chris felt to go through it. Cause I'm thinking it's things that he didn't hear her say until he watched it on TV. To know how she really felt and thought about him. Because he was open about how he felt and thought about her. And he thought it was the same, and he learned that it was not the same. I'm still in shock over Denise. I'm still in shock. And I just got to hear her explanation for her behavior, how she will. I have to. I'm sorry. It's like I'm just confused. I'm stuck on that. Just thinking back on it, like Denise is batshit crazy. She is completely off her fucking rocker. Let me know what you thought down in the comments. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Come back for the next part of the reunion. Cause I got a feeling it's gonna be good too. This one wasn't that good, but it had a lot of information that came out. It made you look at the show sideways a little bit. It made me look at it sideways a little bit. But until then, man, I'll see y'all next time. Hey, peace.